we're here in Miami, and as you can see, the water is coming over the seawall. But what makes that crazy is that right next to it, we have construction. They're actually building condos right against the seawalls that are already flooding. But the problem isn't just with water coming over the seawall, because as you can see here, because Miami is mostly limestone, it's porous. So the water's just coming up from literally under the streets. This is a so-called sunlight flood. It's not raining, and this is the problem that Miami faces. It's got some of the most at-risk real estate assets in the world, and there's a construction boom going, there's flooding happening, so we're gonna see the cost of global warming, sea level rise, and actually who's gonna pay for it.
During Superstorm Sandy in 2012, waters around New York swelled to 14 feet, ultimately causing $65 billion worth of damage. Now, almost everyone was surprised at the extent of the destruction, except for Swiss Re Insurance, a global insurance company who years earlier had predicted and prepared for the damage a storm like Sandy would inflict on New York.
The New York Bay and Long Island would be inundated by a flood due to a Category 3 storm. 13 feet of seawater to 17 feet is not out of the question.
We spoke to the company's chief property underwriter, Monica Ningen, to find out how rising sea levels would impact Miami.
You guys do risk assessment. You did risk assessment on New York, and then Sandy happened. What's the risk assessment here?
So when you think about risk, we don't predict when it's going to happen.
Right.
We really look at if it happens, what are the consequences?
Right.
What this map shows you is if there's a 3-foot rise in sea level,
Which is the scientific consensus by the end of the century.
the dark blue is going to be the area that's underwater.
Wow.
It's 145 billion.
Billion.
145 billion in property assets and 300,000 homes.
Wow.
So if you go to 6 feet, you now have $544 billion of property values
Half a trillion.
exposed. You have 1.4 million homes.
As an insurance company, if you're saying, okay, well, the floods are going to get worse, and by the way, real estate's getting more expensive, what do the costs look like?
When you look at the residential properties in the US, that's where they're insured by the NFIP today. Right? So that's where all of the risk goes.
The NFIP is the National Flood Insurance Program run by FEMA that provides coverage for homes in the U.S. at affordable rates, regardless of risk.
So they have people in higher hazard areas that are being subsidized by people in lower areas.
Now, what that means is the program can offer cheaper rates to participants in flood-prone regions because it's subsidized by the federal government. But as harsher storms are hitting the coastlines, the costs of this program are piling up.
Unfortunately, it's running in the red.
Right. How much is it losing now?
I think it's about $20 billion in debt.
So it's $20 billion in debt. So they're sort of robbing from Peter to pay Paul.
And they expect that the government is going to bail them out.
If storms and storm surges are getting worse, we're already 20 billion plus in debt, then they won't be able to bail people out because they won't have any money.
Yeah, so the NFIP has a borrowing limit, and when they've reached that limit, they have to go back to the Treasury and ask for more money. It's everybody's best guess as to what that's going to look like.
Volcanoes under the ice. Scientists have uncovered the largest volcanic region on Earth, and it's 1.25 miles below the ice in Antarctica. This project by University of Edinburgh researchers revealed almost 100 volcanoes, the tallest almost as tall as the Eiger in Switzerland. That's about, what, 13,000 feet? Huge. This region could be bigger than what's currently considered the largest volcanic region or most compact volcanic region in the world, which is East Africa's volcanic ridge. Now, here's the thing. These volcanoes probably won't ever erupt lava and ash to the surface because, 1.25 miles of ice. But if they erupt under the ice, they could melt the ice and cause the ice sheet to collapse, which could have some interesting and unpleasant consequences for sea levels around the world.
We're going to cancel the Paris Climate Agreement and stop. Unbelievable. And stop all payments of the United States tax dollars to UN global warming programs.